What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jeremy, and today I'm working on this mid-century dresser in a campaign style. It's all laminate, an interesting color scheme. I'm pretty sure it's a basset. I can't find the maker's mark, but my research shows this exact dresser as a basset, and it's pretty dirty as well. So let's get started. It's another Facebook Marketplace find. We had to carry it up from a basement, and it seems as though it hasn't been used in quite a while, but like I said, it is quite dirty. So before I even take the hardware off, I want to just get this thing cleaned up. So I'm getting the drawers out so I can start giving everything a good vacuum. To get access to the back and make sure I get everything really clean, I'm going to go ahead and just take this back off. And this is actually where I saw it says yellow on the back. At first I thought when I saw this dresser that it had been painted in this yellow and white scheme, but it turns out that this is the factory finish. I was originally planning to strip this down to wood, but that is not the plan anymore, obviously. So we're going to give this a nice modern color and perhaps replace this moldy base with some new legs. That last screw was giving me trouble, so I decided just to rip off that last piece and break off the screw, which left a piece sticking out. So I grabbed a saw and just sawed that off. And then there's a little nub left over once I get this piece off that I just hammer in. Now that I've got everything vacuumed up, I'm going to go ahead and work on removing the hardware before I wipe everything down with a degreaser. And the cleaning continues. I will vacuum out all of these drawers and then give them a nice wipe down with some crud cutter. I'm going to try and clean these up. They are solid brass, but they've got some pitting and different issues going on, so I might have to paint them. We'll see. And continuing the cleaning up, I am using a crud cutter and a spray bottle mixed with water, and I'm just using a green scrubby to get all of the grime and dirt off of the surface here. I think there's also, you'll see some melted wax or something that I have to scrape off here, and then I'll just come back with some more cleaner and a brush and make sure everything is nice and clean before primer and paint. These drawer bottoms are MDF with a fake wood grain sticker applied, so I will clean these up as best as I can, but I'm going to probably line them in the end and Speaking of the inside, for the drawer area, I am gonna remove these cardboard-like partitions. They look like some of them have some like mold on them, and really they're just collecting the dust. They're not structural whatsoever. Neither is this center piece here that I end up taking off as well. Next, I will scuff sand the dresser. For these front curved areas, I'm using my Surf Prep sander with a soft abrasive pad. This will conform to the curves and make sure that I don't flatten it out too much. I'm also going to be going a little more to the wood on this front trim piece because there was some chipped paint and stuff, and I just want it to be nice and smooth for when I apply the paint. While I have my sander out, I'll just go ahead and clean up the sides of these drawers as well, and then continue scuff sanding. I didn't realize that my vacuum wasn't actually hooked up to the sander when I was doing the top here, and so I'm wondering why it's so dusty, but I come back and use my vacuum just to clean up that dust after. Because this was a really slick laminate top, I wanted to just make sure I'm getting as much of the shine off as I possibly can so that I get nice adhesion on the primer. After scuff sanding is complete, I like to come back with denatured alcohol and wipe up all the sanding dust and any greases or other contaminants that might be on the surface, just to give a nice clean surface for the next steps. This is also when I'm noticing some areas that need a little bit of wood fill, so I'm using some Bondo here, and I will let this dry and come back and sand it smooth. While that dries, I will make some hardware soup with the hardware. This is just vinegar and water. I like to boil it for like 15 minutes and then let it soak for a little bit while it cools, and then it's usually ready to clean up with some steel wool. I use 40 steel wool for that. And when I was done with that, the Bondo was ready for sanding. So like I said, I'll just sand this smooth and then move on to primer. And same thing, after sanding, I'll wipe down with some denatured alcohol to remove the dust and any other debris or greases. For primer, I'm going to use a shellac-based primer for the majority of this dresser. So I'm going to be rolling it because I don't like to put it through my sprayer. It's hard to clean up. You need to use denatured alcohol or I think ammonia to clean it through your sprayer, and I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just going to roll this on. So I'm lining a plastic paint tray with some foil and using a foam roller for nice smooth application of the primer. I'll roll this on and come back with long light strokes just to smooth out any roller marks or other texture from the roller, and then I'll do a couple of coats of this with a light sand in between. This stuff dries pretty quickly, so probably, and it's also hot right now, so probably after 30 minutes or so, it's pretty dry and ready to be sanded down. I like this primer because it does sand nice and smooth as well. And then again, I'll wipe off the sanding dust and do my next coat. I'm going to be using a water-based gray tinted primer over the entire dresser as a final priming coat, and I'm not going to use the shellac primer on the drawer fronts. I don't think it's super necessary, so I'm just finishing the scuff sanding. I'll put these drawers in the dresser and then do everything at once with a final coat of primer, and like I said, I'm going to be using a water-based gray tinted primer to do that. Before priming though, I will wipe off the sanding dust from the scuff sanding and clean everything with one final wipe down with denatured alcohol. Because this primer is water-based, I will be spraying it through my Wagner sprayer. It gives a nice smooth application. I will overlap my passes by 50% just to make sure that I get nice even coverage over everything. This primer can be recoated or top coated in an hour, so after that hour I am coming back to just smooth everything out with my soft sanding sponge before going ahead and painting. For paint color, I'm using a very dark navy. It looks very weird in this light as like a grayish green color, but it's actually very, very dark navy. It's called After the Storm by Sherwin-Williams, and I'll strain this into my sprayer with a little bit of water to thin it down, and then we can go ahead and spray. As I thought, the hardware didn't really come as clean and nice as I had hoped, so I'm just going to give everything a couple of coats with this gold spray paint. After my first coat of paint, I'm coming back with my foam brush just to touch up the edges of the drawers before moving on to the second coat. I ended up taking the drawers out to start the second coat because I wanted to make sure and get paint on the inside areas here where it may show when the drawers are closed, and so I just want everything to be a nice even color there. And before I moved on to painting the top again, I noticed some texture and a little bit of a area that needed to be sanded down smooth, so I went ahead and did that, and then also did a quick scuff sand over the whole top surface. This is my first dresser that had metal on wood drawer tracks. So the bottom of the drawer has a metal track and the inside of the case has a wood track. And so after looking into it, I found that regular paste wax was recommended for this to just make sure everything slides well. And so I'll just go ahead and apply this to any areas where the wood might rub. And now that that is complete, we can go ahead and put everything back together. I'm adding the hardware and the corner brackets. I also got some new feet to put on the dresser that were gold already, but I spray painted them with the same color just so they would match perfectly with the hardware and the brackets. All right, let's take a look back where we started with this campaign dresser. It was really dirty and needed a fresh paint scheme, but after a lot of work and cleaning and painting, this is where we ended up. I think that this piece is now a stunning statement dresser. I love the pop of the gold on this color. It looks absolutely amazing to me. The paint finish came out really smooth and I love the satin sheen. I couldn't be happier with how this turned out, but let me know what you think in the comments and we will see you next time.